time. If that's what it's all about, Mama, if that's moving up, then I'm moving out. I'm moving out. Sergeant O'Leary is walking the beat. At night he becomes a bartender. He works at Mr. Cacciatore's down on Sullivan Street, across from the medical center. Oh, he's traded in his Chevy for a Cadillac. You ought to know by now. If he gets himself a broken back, he can always polish the fenders. And it seems such a waste of time. If that's what it's all about, Mama, if that's moving up, then I'm moving out. Oh, moving out. You should never argue with the crazy man. You ought to know by now. You can pay Uncle Sam with the money over time. Is that all you get for your money? Well, if that's what you have in mind, yes, if that's what it's all about, good luck moving up, 'cause I'm moving out.
The theme song of every adolescent. I'm moving out. Let's stand, we'll say a prayer together. We gather in this place because we know there's a part of us that is always living with an image of something that the world is not living up to. Something that we see is that place where we're moving toward, we want to get to. Sometimes it's about getting away. The question is, what are we moving toward? Holy One, give us the image, the vision, to know what that is. A vision that somehow heals both ourselves and the world around us. A vision that helps us in our families, in our marriages, in our friendships, in our relationships with siblings, in our relationships with other countries, to discover how we can be that brings wholeness. And so we pray. Amen.
Steps to this sacred dance, just the feel of your feet on the floor. Arms in the air, as free as your breath, and as simple as a wave on the shore. The voices you heard have no power here. Find a rhythm that fits how you live. Silence the critic. dance be our prayer. We move in the mystery of all that we see. We dance for the wonder of peace. We dance through the struggles, remind us how the truth is finally free. God of pleasure and wilderness, grant us the wisdom to dance with creation. God of wonder and bliss, give us love for the beauty of all our creation. As we stretch out our hands to the heavens so there, let us dance be our prayer. Dance with your brothers and leave all your cares. Come sisters and mothers and let down your hair. Stars of the morning and darkest of nights, for the joy of creation's God's greatest delight. God of pleasure and wilderness, grant us the wisdom to dance with creation. God of wonder and bliss, give us love for the beauty of all our relations. As we stretch out our hands to the heavens so there, let us dance be our prayer. Take just a few moments to greet one another with signs of peace and love.
There we go.
I would like to share Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 18 through chapter 9 through 1. My joy is gone, grief is upon me, my heart is sick. Hark the cry of the poor people from far and wide in the land. Is the Lord not in Zion? Is her king not in her? Why have they provoked me to anger with their images, with their foreign idols? The harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. For the hurt of my poor people, I am hurt. I mourn, and dismay has taken hold of me. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then has the health of my poor people not been restored? Oh, that my head were a spring of water, and my eyes a fountain of tears, so that I might weep day and night for the slain of my poor people. And now if you'll join me in Luke chapter 16, verses 11 through 13. If then you have not been faithful with the dishonest wealth, who will entrust to you the true riches? And if you have not been faithful with what belongs to another, who will give you what is your own? No slave can serve two masters. For a slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth.
That's awesome. My analyst told me that I was right out of my head. He said I described it. He said I'd be better dead than alive. I didn't listen to his jive. I knew all along that he was all wrong, and I knew that he thought I was crazy, but I'm not. No. My analyst told me I was right out of my head. He said I need treatment, but I'm not that easily led. He said I was the type that was most inclined, when out of his sight, to be out of my mind. And he thought I was nuts. No more ifs or ands or buts. Oh, you see, as a child I appeared a little bit wild with all my crazy ideas, but I knew what was happening. I knew I was a genius. What's so strange when you know that you're a wizard in three? I knew that this was meant to be. Now I heard little children were supposed to sleep tight. That's why I got into the vodka one night. My parents got frantic, didn't know what to do, but I saw some crazy scenes before I came to. Now, do you think I was crazy? I may have been only 3, but I was swinging. They all rang grand bell. They all laughed at Edison and also Einstein. So why should I feel sorry if they just couldn't understand the idiomatic logic that went on in my head? I had a brain, it was insane. Oh, they used to laugh at me when I refused to ride on all those double-decker buses, all because there was no driver on the top.
What? There's no driver on the top.
My analyst told me that I was right out of my head, but I said, dear doctor, I think that it's you instead, because I have got a thing that's unique and new. To prove it, I'll have the last laugh on you, 'cause instead of one hand, I got 2, and you know 2 heads are better than one.
We come to a time of our prayer and meditation. Let's sing together as we put our minds in that state. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and we will feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and we will feel alright. Now just with your voices. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and we will feel alright.
invite you to just close your eyes for a moment, though it may feel like you're losing a little bit of control to do that. Maybe some of the good stuff in life gets to come because you can lose control just a little bit sometimes. My guess is the person who wrote the song that we just sang spent a lot more time practicing letting go of control rather than trying to wrestle for control. We walk that line all the time, spending so much of our energy sometimes trying to get enough control to feel okay. Discover so often that the people around us and the world around us, sometimes they just don't want to cooperate. It can be an all-consuming job to get enough control to feel okay. Spend so much energy that we almost forget that some of the stuff that we really want may not have anything to do with the things that we're trying to control. Even singing a song about one love, one heart. Let's get together and feel all right. We can find ourselves really just trying to make sure that we don't look silly. Rather than giving ourselves over to the joy and the freedom that really was our birthright if we hadn't given it away. Holy One, wherever we find ourselves this morning, we know finding ourselves is probably the first thing we need to do. Finding ourselves. Finding our joy. Finding that freedom. We know we have to walk this path of managing things. Don't let us lose ourselves in the process. Amen.
She said to me condescendingly, take a seat, take your life, thought it out in black and white. I never lived the dreams of the prom kids and the drama queens. I like to think the best of me is still hiding up my street. To tell you, stay inside the lines. Something's better on the other side. I wanna run through the halls of my high school. I wanna scream at the top of my lungs. I just found out there's no such thing as a real world. Just a lie, you got to rise above. The so-called fast track, faded white hats, grabbing credit, say, baby transfers. Read all the books, but they can't find the answer. I know my parents, they're getting older. What did they wish for? Anything better? Why didn't their memories, tiny tragedies? They love to tell you, stay inside. sad. I wanna run through the halls of my school. I wanna scream at the top of my lungs. I just found out there's no such thing as a real world. Just a lie you get to rise above. Invincible as long as I'm alive. I wanna run through the halls of my school. I wanna scream at the top of my lungs. I just found out there's no such thing as a real world. Just a lie you got to rise above. I just can't wait till the 10-year reunion. I'm gonna bust down the double doors. And when I stand on these tables before you, you know what all this time was for.
Part 3 this morning of a 3-part series, so it's over after today. Got to get my last shots in. This is a training we've been holding for the last couple of weeks on how to train your parents. And so this is one of those things where parents feel free to just cover your ears. I'm mainly talking to younger folks about how to train you. Maybe it won't hurt for you to hear it, but we'll see. Part of what I've been talking about is that somehow in the journey of our lives, there are times as we're growing up that we discover there are things that, go kind of awry in the family. Things in the family become quite tense, and there can be a lot of, just people not getting what they want. And at those moments, oftentimes, as I said in the last couple of weeks, when young people can learn to train their parents how to have conflict in a way that is all about learning to give freedom for responsibility, where if I take on responsibility, I get responsibility for more. That's such a great way to experience how we grow up together. But today I really want to talk about the main thing I think young people can learn to train their parents in. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, but often older people suffer from certain disillusionments. You may have noticed this. They sometimes become disillusioned with parts of life where they spend so much of their time and energy trying to take care of all of the things, often which they really need to do to take care of you and to take care of the house and to take care of making money so that there's food on the table and perhaps put a little bit back for those years when otherwise you will have to take care of them. Trying to be responsible people, parents, out of the best intentions, sometimes become a little disillusioned with life. And I know what it feels like to have a parent who seems a little disillusioned. And I know that what we often try to do in training our parents is to try to get them to lose control a little bit. You've done this, right? Your parent seems very kind of rigidly trying to do the right thing all the time. And so what you do to your parent is you set your house on fire, or no, you don't do that. No, you do something to kind of stir things up and get them to, you could say, lose it. And there's kind of an effort in that on the part of us when we're young people sometimes, trying to train them out of their kind of rigidity. But the problem, and this is the training that's really important today, is the problem is the more that you try to shock them out of this disillusionment, the more they tend to feel a need to grip it ever more tightly. Now, there's a great old story about the sun and the wind having a contest over the man and trying to decide who was more powerful. And there was a sense that the wind felt like the wind was the most powerful. And so it thought, I'll challenge you. It's a duel. I will show you how powerful I am. I'm going to blow the coat off of this guy. And the wind blew, and it blew, and it blew. And every time, the more it blew, the more tightly the man clung to his coat. And the sun finally said, okay, my turn. The sun came out and warmed up the day, and the guy just took off his coat. So many of the conflicts that we get into with trying to train our parents have to do with things like that, where it's not that there's something wrong with what we're feeling and sensing, but that we're trying to go about it in a way that just doesn't work. It's kind of like those Chinese handcuffs. Have you ever seen those? They're little woven pieces of bamboo, and you stick one finger in one of them, and you stick the other finger in the other, and the more you struggle with it, the worse it tightens up on you, and you can't get your finger out until you just kind of relax, and then it slips out really easily. Sometimes the struggles that we get into in the growing up years are really kind of like that. It's like the harder we struggle with it, the worse we make it. I want to suggest that, like that song that Brad did just a little while ago about I want to run through the halls of my high school, especially if you find yourself in your teenage years growing up wanting to kind of grab life and, as one poet put it, suck the marrow of life. If you're finding yourself in that place where you feel like your family and your disillusioned parents somehow just don't get it, life's so much bigger than they seem to have grasped, and you find yourself, like many adolescents that I talk to, thinking about, how do I want to buy into this rat race thing that my parents are into that seems to keep them so kind of always busy and missing out on all the good stuff of life? Maybe just think for a moment that there are some differences going on here. Think about all that your parents are trying to provide. You know, it's important stuff. And the sacrifices they make, it's important stuff. But what you're feeling is important too. It's just not something to make lifelong decisions out of. Lifelong decisions based on a feeling of, I don't want to buy into the rat race and become a cog in the machine of culture and becoming disillusioned in that sense yourself. Yeah, that's something you need to pay attention to. Listen to the calling in your own heart of what you want to create with your life. We want to do that. We need to do that. But at the same time, recognizing that those feelings don't necessarily mean you need to make some lifelong decisions that cut you off from the connection of the world. I've worked with a few adolescents who made that choice. They said, I'm not going to buy into the way of this world. I'm not going to buy into the cultural mentality of the American dream. I understand that. That's a strong feeling. At the same time, what I saw them do was not really follow any alternative. And most of them are living in their parents' basements right now. Sometimes it's learning to live in the tension between me being self-responsible and learning to take care of myself, which is that's the process of maturity, and also still holding on to that sense of life in its richness. And some of us have recognized that sometimes our parents struggle with that same tension. Sometimes it's really easy when your life has become so full of trying to put out fires and take care of concerns that trigger bad feelings and trying to keep those bad feelings from coming by organizing and managing and controlling everything that you can, that you can become a little out of touch with the part of you that even knows how to feel ecstatic and feel joy. Because, frankly, those aspects of our lives have more to do with losing control and sharing control than they do with having control. It's easy to make a life out of trying to keep control of everything and keep the bad wolves at bay. But in the process, sometimes we actually lose our way, and that's all life becomes. Train your parents, you see, to recover that joy. But the way we do that's so important, because if the way we're trying to do it is to keep shaking things up, what happens is parents do what they've struggled to do and may be stuck in doing, which is always just focusing on trying to put out the fire of the negative, the fire of the fear, the fire of the distressing, the fire of the things that trigger shame and humiliation. What we need to learn to do is practice creating ways that those things get managed. So we work together to make sure those things get managed so that we can make lots more time for creating those places in life where we get to dance and feel the joy of our connection. You may be surprised how powerful you are at being able to create that kind of change. You may be surprised that whether you are 5 or 15 or 50, that creating more openings for joy is something you have a great deal of power to do. When we begin to recognize we're walking with this kind of balance in our hands, managing the things that could create bad feelings, but practicing, remembering that controlling everything won't create joy. It's often about sharing power, sharing control, letting go of control. When I was a kid, I remember laying on the ground looking up at the stars at night. And I remember my father would sometimes come lay on the ground next to me, and he would tell me about all of the constellations because he was a physics major. And it used to bug me because I really didn't know, and I didn't really want to know all of it. I liked it. I liked learning the names for things, and I still like that I know some because he taught me. But what I wanted most sometimes was just to be in that ecstasy of this big world full of mystery and enchantment. It's too easy to get disillusioned when the images that you carry around of what life is supposed to be don't match what life is. It's a part of the journey of growing up, too, you know, that we struggle sometimes. We think everything's supposed to be one way, and then it turns out it's much more complex and different than we thought. And there's a real tendency sometimes, I want to hold on to my image, even though that image is simply an imaginary island in a sea of change. My image. The more I cling to it and try to control everything to fit it, sometimes robs me of the joy of this moment, the joy of this experience, which is just different from my image. Right? And so we live in the tension between that which we have learned to have as a guiding image of what's good and what we want and what we love and what we dream of, and the experience of the world, which is always much more rich and much more diverse than the simple image that we carry around. And when we bump into other people, we bump into their images of what they think and experience life as being. We have a little conflict sometimes. When I was about 17, I decided I was going to be a preacher. I decided this because there was another preacher who made me feel really guilty one time. And I also had some fear, and I struggled for a while and decided I should be a preacher. And so that was my image. Now, if that's my image of me and my future and what I'm supposed to be, it guides a whole lot of choices. You know, I started studying the Bible. I memorized half the New Testament by the time I was 18. And I could spout sermons by other people who I could quote verbatim if you asked me about anything spiritual, religious. You know, it wasn't until I was in college that I found myself surrounded by some people who seemed to just love me regardless of who I had as my image of who I was supposed to be. Their image of me was a little different from me. Their image of me was, you know, it's not so important that you have to be the person with all the answers. It's much more important to us that you just be you. That you learn to be you. And that's true. Most of the images that we get as we go along through life are images that just got brought in. When was it that I was going to begin to contribute my own ideas to that image? Rather than have it just be the one that was handed me as a child, rather than be the one that was influenced by some preacher, but where I began to dream about who I wanted to be and to begin to take what I was experiencing in my day-to-day life and let it begin to inform what my image of the world was, rather than trying to have my image of the world try to define what life was supposed to be. This is the tensions that all human beings live in. I encourage you, maybe just for this week, to discover what would it be like if you tried to train the parents in your life. And maybe you don't have parents around. Maybe you just have to find somebody who acts like a parent. Or maybe you just have to have a dialogue with that part of you inside of you that tends to be the parent, trying to control everything. But have a dialogue with that part of your life, inviting that part of you to dance. To remember, there are no steps prescribed for this dance of life. The great gift is you're invited to make up your own. Live in the tension of taking care of the things that feel sometimes like you need to make sure aren't going to lead to disaster or problems. But don't lose that sense of the dance. Amen.
Let's all stand together as we sing this song, this great song from the 60s. Teach your children.
Must I go
So I'm going to invite you to sit back down for just a second. A couple of quick announcements for you this morning. One of which is that we have a lot of classes that are starting up, little opportunities for growth, chances to do some kind of challenging of your images that you carry around, maybe grow them some. And one of those is the Artist Way class. You want to share a word about that, Kathy? Kathy's got a group that's forming starting this week. So, yeah.
One thing I want to
Use
thank
this.
Charles because his sermon or his wonderful words that he says just happens to just fall in wonderfully with what I need to say. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
In fact, I'm going to quote him. Practice creating places in life to dance and feel the joy of creating. Creating more openings for joy is so powerful. That is what the Artist Way is about. It's about finding that spark to creativity, that spark, that synchronicity that we call that spirit within us. And it will open up so many roads, so many blocks, so many narrow ideas that we have. It is about art because we are art. So come join us. Sundays, right after this, from 1:30 to 3:30, and on Tuesdays from 6:30 to 9:30. No, 6:30 to 8:30.
Good. Okay. And there's some flyers on it in the back in case she got that wrong. But the times are on there, and you can sign up actually this morning back in the back. And also, I want to invite you to sign up for something else. There's a big event that we've been hoping to get a guy named Gary David to come here from LA. He's an amazing thinker, has done some great work. And if you think about this whole idea of kind of the images that we carry, Gary's like an expert on the whole way human consciousness works like that. He is just such an expert. Few people like him. I really encourage you to check him out. And we're creating a time for people to just kind of learn about it and experience some of what he has to share for free on Friday night, October 4th. What we need to know, you're coming, so we kind of know how much chairs and coffee or water, whatever. So it'd be great to know if you're going to come. That Friday night, October 4th, we're calling this the Extending Your Presence into the World workshop. He's going to do some presenting on Friday night, and then on Saturday there's a workshop, which has a charge to it. But whether you're able to do that or not, I really want to encourage you to come for the Friday night. You're going to have some opportunities to really expand kind of your understanding about your own life. Gary has a great way of making some very complex things very easy to manage and apply. And a lot of it will have to do with how we apply some of these ideas to our lives. So there's a sign-up sheet in the back for that as well. Hope you'll join us for that. Also, Roots of Change groups begin next week. So if you're going to join us for some of those, there's a Sunday morning group, a Sunday afternoon group, a Wednesday group, all forming. These are wonderful opportunities to learn some about the emotional awareness that we have been teaching in schools and different places about how we are actually motivated from emotion. And when we learn the system, we have a great opportunity to be able to learn about how to manage conflict and our own experience and relationship much better. So Roots of Change groups run for 10 weeks. They are 2 hours a week. You get to share a meal, talk about your lives, and then watch a video and talk about that. So I hope you'll join us for that. I think that's all I need to push right now. Yeah. You want your mic back? Oh, I also want to mention to you, I found out this morning, just as a concern, one of our members, Sue Uten, had a heart attack this weekend. And she's in ICU right now. So, Harris, the downtown. Yeah. So I know many of you are concerned about that, and we'll need to kind of share ideas. But she seems to be stable in ICU right now. Okay.
And then just real quick, we'll make more notes mention about this later, but just put in the back of your minds, October 12th is Doxy's birthday, but it's also going to be a special benefit concert that she'll be putting on, and Jeff Seward behind us here has a club that he's actually put together. It's behind his house in Arlington. It's a really nice venue space. It sounds weird to say it like that, yeah. There's a shed in the back of his place, and we're all going to gather there. It's late at night, the moon will be up, and we'll have a great time. And so we'll make more mention about that, but it's to benefit both her late husband and a special fountain that's being built in his honor, an inspiration fountain, as well as Soap on a Rope, the resources that we take on one of our mission trips.
Good.
So we just, October 12th, put that in the back of your head.
Great. Let's stand. We'll say a prayer together. All right. So, Holy One, we want to hold Sue and all those who are struggling with any kind of challenge, health today. We send from this circle the care and love and great intentions for healing and wholeness, both to each of those who we know and name in our own hearts right now, but all of those in our community and our world in need of help. Teach us how in this tension of life between the struggle to survive and to thrive and the need to live with a sense of that joy and freedom, that we are always open, that we always are ready to feel the empathy for the other, and but to always at the same time be ready to join in the dance. Amen.
Anthony works in the grocery store. He's saving his pennies for someday. And Mama Leone left a note on the door. She said, "Sonny, move out to the country. All the work and too hard can bring you a heart attack. You ought to know by now. Who needs a house down in Happy Sack? Is that all you get for your money? But it seems such a waste of time. If that's what it's all about, Mama, if that's moving up, then I'm moving out. I'm moving out. Sergeant O'Leary is walking the beat. At night he becomes a bartender. He works at Mr. Cacciatore's down on Sullivan Street, across from the medical center. He's trading in a Chevy for a Cadillac. You ought to know by now. And if he can't drive with a broken back, at least he can polish the fenders. And it seems such a waste of time. If that's what it's all about, Mama, if that's moving up, then I'm moving out. You should never argue with the crazy man. You wanna know by now. You can pay Uncle Sam with your overtime. Is that all you get with your money? If that's what you have in mind, yeah, that's what you're all about. Good luck moving up, 'cause I'm